right, I'm here with Scott, owner of Wet Paint. And we're here to talk about this pretty sweet set that, wait a minute, Justin's spreading it out on the table as we look at it here. I don't know much about gouache, but apparently this is a huge value.
We love it. Well, it's a good value, but we love this stuff. We came up with the idea of it before we even bothered to figure out how much it was going to cost.
Right.
But the Acryla Gouache comes from Holbein. Gouache is flat finish, very light body, water base, and there's two kinds of gouache, and with this, three kinds of gouache. There's what's called a designer's gouache. It's a fast paint, flat finish, very little body for sketch work. It's used in fashion a lot. Then there's artist gouache. And artist gouache has higher pigment load, but still that beautiful flat finish and is rewettable, resoluble, and you can paint with it, not just sketch and fill in color. First time I ever used gouache was like high school graphic design class doing logos and things like that.
Okay.
Just I need a flat field, and we didn't have Macintosh
Well,
because it was 1982.
Right.
But this stuff is an acrylic bound flat paint, so it's a light body, works with water, thins, you can paint with it, it's pigmented in an artist grade, but then once it sets, the acrylic emulsion sets, then you can come back and work over it with more of this, or with acrylic, or with pen and ink, or with traditional watercolors and gouache. So this stuff does amazing things.
Yeah.
It's really fun, but look at the finish on it. This is the color chart we made. We picked out the colors based on things we love.
Yeah.
And it's about 3 days of Darren and Anna Miller and I moving tubes around. We had the entire selection.
Right.
We were like, well, you can't do it without ice green.
Right.
Oh, but we already have it. You know, do we need a warm and a cool? Yeah, well, it's not truly a double primary, but it is kind of a double primary. The easiest way to look at it is to put it up on its tip like this.
Okay.
So here's nothing.
Right.
Here's the white, cream, and all of the colors that are in this set.
Okay.
And then we did the same thing this way, and just like learning your times tables in grade school, we took this and this. If you put cream with cream, you end up with the same thing. So
Right.
these are always going to meet in about the same place.
Right.
But if you take this and you cross it with the green, you're going to get something in this range. So if you put a line right up the middle here, it's a mirror image chart in this case.
I see.
Anna put some
Okay.
time in. She's good with the coloring inside the lines.
Yeah, you can't make one mistake.
No, but
But let me get close on this because you can almost see that there's a little bit of you can see the ridges in the paint,
yeah, but this is
like an impasto or something.
but this is there's nothing added to this paint. It's not even really watered down. This is about
Oh.
tube strength.
That's tube.
So you
about
can
tube
you can
strength.
feel
Okay.
that this is it's not self-leveling, but it's a very minimal body to this paint. It is designed to work like a watercolor, but it's got the finish of a matte acrylic.
And it's not going to be transparent by any means
No.
because that's not what it's. It's a
No,
flat.
and you know the way most people learn how to use gouache is that you pencil, you gouache, and you ink, and you can do that with designer gouache, whatever.
Sure.
But to be able to mix a color, to be able to do some gradation, you can break it a little bit and get some transparency out of it. But that's not really what it's here for. That have selections of what people do with this, and there's great fantasy art and illustration.
Yeah, a lot of comic book artists will use gouache.
Very much. Well, for anything that's going to be going through a photo production process, this is perfect because of the flatness of the finish and the flatness of the actual paint film.
Sure, you don't want any glare off the paint when you're
And you don't want
taking
shadows in it either. Yeah.
no shadows as well. Okay, so what caught my eye was this crazy tin. Right, so you managed to stuff all of this in here. And
Yeah, so we saw
Yeah,
these were available from Holbein in Japan,
okay,
but not in the U.S. So we said, first, how do we get a hold of some of these crazy tins? And then two, once we got them, are we just
Crazy.
going to sell them?
right,
Or can we put stuff in there? So we asked our Holbein supplier to just see if the tubes fit. He said, yeah. He said,
Well, they do.
about how many fit in there? He said, about 18. We said, well, we kind of priced out to do a 12 set, but that's great because we couldn't decide which colors we wanted, so we're going to make it an 18 set.
nice.
And so we picked 18 colors instead of 12 and got them all to fit with just enough room for a color chart.
Okay, so So you'll get a color chart with the kit. Not quite
Not,
like
not a
that.
painted one.
Right, not a
You-
painted one.
You make
but-
your own. That's the first thing you do.
Right, okay. So
But-
that's basically your guide to the combination of all of the colors you can get from 18 individual colors, basically.
Right, and so this is maybe, it's not quite half the line in these 18 colors. It's about I think it's about a 42 color line.
Right,
But
okay.
they fit in there, it feels good, and you get the satisfaction of saying, I want to see that kitty again. We do that all day long.
And the kitty's right down there.
And there he is with mushrooms growing out of his head.
Very nice.
This one has fish for hands.
Wild.
Love
I
this
know,
one.
that's what I was laughing at. You look closely at these, and you're just nuts. All right.
So, and then you use up all your
Octopus
gouache,
cat, yeah.
and then you have to get a bigger box because you buy more of it, so you use this for something else.
Right. So, and this is, you say it's acrylic gouache?
It is an acrylic gouache.
Okay.
It's an acrylic binder. And
Okay, perfect.
if you want to spend a little bit of time, try to recreate our color wheel.
Yeah.
But you'll see where we went a little bit heavier with the things that we think they do particularly well. So the oranges suffer a little bit. Oops. There we go. And we didn't get any purples in here really to speak of, but they've got such
You got
great.
a little
bit there.
powder. Ooh, okay, I see what that is. Well, you can make purple
You can make purple as well.
pretty easily, right?
Yeah, we didn't want to leave out. They have some really. I like their yellow ochre. We really like their misty green, which is really more of a gray. So I guess technically that goes over here. So.
So there's your color. And
Oh yeah, I almost forgot Ivory White.
You gotta have white.
Yeah, and that's the Ivory White. So that's this this one that I was calling cream before. That's that guy there.
Sure. Okay. Perfect. Hey, thanks, Scott.
Absolutely, Marty. Have fun with these.
Hey, thanks, Scott. It is time to have some fun with this Holbein Acrylya Gouache. Say it like this, gouache. It's kind of fun to say. It's a little bit difficult to write and remember how to spell this right, but it's kind of sounds like a combination vegetable, like a green squash or something. Gouache, gouache. Anyway, gouache is a pretty neat kind of paint. Don't expect a transparent watercolor by any stretch. This is really an opaque paint used really to do illustration and things like that. So there's been a resurgence, I think, in the use of gouache in fine art. It's always been sort of a staple in fantasy art, as Scott mentioned, in comic book art, but more and more artists I see doing regular practice of fine art are using gouache, and I think that's pretty cool. And this is a pretty cool paint to do it with. And if you're interested, you know, in the checking it out, I mean, for a pretty affordable entry point, you can get 18 tubes of this from Wet Paint. Well, over the holidays, I got some gifts, and I wanted to quick mention them. Kate, the sleepy teacher, who has a YouTube channel here, she sent me a really, really cool watercolor set here with Jane Davenport paints and Daniel Smith paints in here, and she really put together a really cool palette with these purples and the greens you can see here and everything in between. It was in a really cool tin. Thank you, Kate. And then Steve Mitchell from the Mind of Watercolor sent me over this hand-turned nib holder. That's a walnut nib holder. It's really awesome. Hey, thanks, Steve. I really appreciate it. And I like to exchange gifts with other artists as well. Well, like I said, if you're interested in getting into gouache or introducing it to your artistic practice or just having some fun with it, you're probably not going to score a better deal than these 18 tubes in this custom tin at Wet Paint. I think it's normally close to $200 for these tubes without the tin, and with it, I think you're just right around $100 if you go and check out Wet Paint sale on it. Now here are these paints, I think 90% dry, and you can see they're very, very opaque, very chocolate, very chalky, but really nice to use. So there's the color there. And you can get some neat effects with the gouache. It's really cool. Well, if you get a chance, drop over to the website, go down to the right-hand side, and that blue button right there. Just click follow, and you'll be subscribed to my webpage. And every month or so, I post something there, and you should get a notice that says, hey, Marty's posted something. Maybe it's an artistic musing or some drawings or pointers, tips, things like that. Hopefully you can go check it out when you get a chance. Well, follow me on these social media platforms. I'd really like you to leave a comment here if you can. Drop by, leave me a note. I love to hear from you guys, and I always try to respond. Well, that's just about it for today. I hope you guys have a great week. Thanks for dropping by. This has been Marty for owingsart.com.